Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be my June wrap-up, and in June I only read 3 books. I'm actually not upset about that, simply because I was in a reading slump the last half of May and in the first half of June, so I'm pleasantly surprised that I was able to at least read 3 books. So if you're interested in hearing my thoughts about the books that I read, then just keep watching. The first book that I read in June is The Traitors Game, written by Jennifer A. Nielsen. So this book is about a 17-year-old girl named Kestra. She comes from a noble family. Her father is the right-hand man of this evil queen who is apparently immortal, and one day a group of rebels kidnaps her and forces her to find this ancient sword that can possibly kill the king. So that is what this book is about. This was not the best book to read during a reading slump. It didn't really do anything for me. There wasn't anything special about it, especially with Kestra. I mean, she reminds me a lot of Mariko from The Flame in the Mist. Now, I like Mariko, I really do. Both Kestra and Mariko are from noble families. They're completely unaware as to how common people are treated from the upper class, and they're both pretty spoiled. But like I said, I actually like Mariko. Kestra, I just can't stand her. She's very annoying. It seems like she has to be right about everything. She always has to have the last word, which, by the way, just drives me nuts. There's also romance in this book. The romance between Kestra and her love interest can be considered a hate-to-love romance, but the thing is, it's not slow burning at all. This book takes place in a span of 4 days. Kestra and her love interest go from completely hating each other to absolutely loving each other within 4 days. Even for me, that is just completely unrealistic. And I honestly don't mind instant love. I said it before, it just depends on how it's done. And how it's done in this book was just no. Their romance also takes over the story. It's always about Kestra and her love interest and how, you know, they long for each other, but they can't admit it. They're telling each other lies. It just drove me crazy. If you really love someone, you're not going to keep telling the person you love lies. It doesn't work that way. And that's really all I remember about this book, to be honest. This book is definitely forgettable. And like I said, was not the best book to read during a reading slump. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars because I did enjoy the second half of the book, and I did end up having an interest to continue on with the series. However, when I read the blurb to the sequel, I instantly changed my mind. Just from reading the blurb, I knew I was going to be just as frustrated, if not more, with the characters. And if you are not a fan of YA fantasy tropes, do not pick this up. You will go crazy. The next book that I read in June is Gemina, the second book in the Illuminate File series, written by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This book was the perfect book to read during my reading slump. I feel like it completely got me out of that slump, and I just want to read more. It was an amazing feeling. I was definitely up late some nights till like 1 o'clock in the morning just to keep reading, which was a really bad idea considering that my toddlers are early birds. They wake up as early as 5 o'clock in the morning sometimes. So staying up that late was a really bad idea, but it was completely worth it. I can't say much about this book, but I can say that we do follow 2 new main characters. And at first I wasn't sure how I was going to feel at them. I was annoyed at them at the beginning from their interactions, but they grew on me and they've shown that they are more than what they appear to be. So that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. Like Illuminate, this was very exciting, thrilling. There were some very heartbreaking moments, and there were times where I just was in disbelief that some of these things were happening. So this was so much fun. I know there's a lot of hype with the Illuminate series, but for me, it definitely lived up to the hype, and I think it's going to be one of my top favorites. And I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. The final book that I read in June is Smoke in the Sun, written by Renee Audier, and it is the sequel and conclusion to Flame in the Mist. I buddy read this with my friend Amy from Blind and Bookish, and I'll leave her link down below so you can check out our channel if you haven't done so already. I'm one of the people that really enjoyed Flame in the Mist. Like, I absolutely loved it. So I assumed that I was going to love the sequel. It's really bad to assume these things because in the end, I was just completely let down and unsatisfied. The beginning of the book is very slow building. Nothing really happens. So you have this slow build up and you expect something major, something big to happen. And then all of a sudden, the book ends. The ending just seemed so rushed. There were side characters that were really great that weren't fleshed out enough, and you don't really know their fates. It's like their fates are left for your own interpretation. I felt like the side characters that I wanted to know more of were just there as an afterthought, and I was really frustrated by that. There were also some aspects of the book that were kind of left unanswered, which also frustrated me. I think maybe my expectations were too high, or maybe I just hyped myself up too much. Either way, this was very disappointing. I mean, there were some parts of the book that I did like. For example, the magic. We were able to see more of the magic in this world, which I found to be very mysterious and interesting, but it just wasn't enough for me to really love this book. This was an okay read, and I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. Alright guys, so that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know if you've read any of these books and your thoughts about it, or let me know what books you've read in June. I hope you guys are doing well, and I hope to see you all again in my next video. Bye guys.